You know, every story has a beginning, but this one's really about the end. And it all ends in, of all places, a library, a place of quiet order. It's where a ghost, a man who ruled the darkest corners of the internet, was about to find out that he was very, very real.
October 1st, 2013, San Francisco Public Library. Just a normal Tuesday, right? For almost everyone in that library it was. But for one person, it was the end of everything. So here's the question. It's the one that kept federal agents up at night for years. How do you catch the king of the dark web? I mean, think about it. How do you catch a ghost? How do you put handcuffs on someone who, for all intents and purposes, doesn't even exist? Well, the answer, as it turns out, was hiding in plain sight.
Okay, picture this. You're in the science fiction aisle. There's a 29-year-old guy just sitting there with his laptop. His name is Ross Ulbricht, and he thinks he's completely invisible. What he doesn't know is that he's surrounded. The whole place is crawling with federal agents, pretending to be librarians, just regular people browsing. The trap is set. They just need one little thing, a distraction. So two agents start a loud, fake argument. You know, a bit of cheap theater to get everyone to look. And it works. Every single person looks over, except for him. But the noise, it does make him turn his head, just for a second. And a second is all they need. An agent lunges, not for Ross, but for the laptop. It's open, it's logged in, and in that one moment, his entire empire just evaporates. His first instinct is to grab for that laptop, right? It's the keys to his kingdom. But it's too late. It's over. Another agent is already behind him, lifting him out of his chair in a bear hug. The ghost was caught. The whole thing was fast, brutal, incredibly efficient. But the guy in handcuffs, he didn't exactly look like a criminal mastermind. So to understand how this all happened, how this ghost was even created, we have to go back before the empire, before all the money, before he was just a name whispered on the dark web. We have to go back to the man from Austin.
I mean, look at him on paper. Ross Ulbricht was the last person you'd ever suspect. He was an Eagle Scout. His SAT score was in the 96th percentile. He had a master's degree in material science from Penn State. A smart guy. And he was a devoted libertarian. He believed in a world with almost no rules, no government getting in the way. That was the face he showed everyone, but it was just a face. And behind it, something else was building. Because see, that brilliant mind, it was fueled by this radical idea. And he wasn't just thinking about a world without rules. He was actually building one, a totally anonymous empire tucked away in the deepest, darkest shadows of the internet. A place where he could be the king. And he called it the Silk Road. For almost 3 years, it was basically the Amazon of the dark web, a place for anything and everything illegal. We're talking nearly $214 million in sales, all paid for in Bitcoin, all completely untraceable, hidden behind the walls of the Tor network. He literally wrote in his journal that he was creating a place to buy and sell anything with no trail whatsoever. It was his grand experiment, and he was in charge. Now, he taught himself how to code the whole thing. The guy was brilliant, no question. But even a king can't build an empire all by himself. He needed some help. And when he went looking for it, he made his first mistake. A single, careless error. So small, he probably never even thought about it again. But it was the one thing that would eventually bring his entire world crashing down. It started with this post on a public Bitcoin forum, basically a help wanted ad. I'm looking for the best and brightest IT pro. It sounds totally normal, right? Ambitious, professional. But hidden inside this message was the fatal flaw, a tiny digital thread connecting his secret world to his real one. His own email address, rezululbricht@gmail.com. His real name, right there. In the middle of this massive, anonymous fortress he was building, he just left the front door wide open. He probably forgot all about it. But the internet never forgets. So a couple of years go by, the empire gets bigger and bigger. But that one little thread is just hanging there, waiting. And eventually, someone started pulling on it. And it wasn't some high-tech cybercrime unit, not at first. It started with customs agents, who just started noticing these weird little packages showing up from a world that wasn't supposed to exist. It began in the summer of 2011. An agent at Chicago's O'Hare Airport starts noticing suspicious packages.
Then an article on the website Gawker goes viral, and boom, the secret is out. Suddenly, everybody wants in. The FBI, the DEA, Homeland Security. It becomes this huge, sprawling hunt for the guy in charge. The problem? They were all chasing a ghost, a username he'd started using, Dread Pirate Roberts. But here's the thing. When you spend too much time hunting in the dark starts to hunt you too. This case just became a magnet for corruption. You had one DEA agent, Carl Force, extorting 50 grand from Ulbricht while undercover. You had a Secret Service agent, Sean Bridges, who just straight up stole hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin right from the site's accounts. The hunters themselves were getting pulled under. So while all these big agencies are stumbling around in the dark and some of their agents are lining their pockets, one investigator from a place you'd never expect, the IRS, he has a really simple idea. Everyone else was focused on what was happening right now. He decided to look back, way back. This IRS agent, Gary Alford, he just starts digging. He looks for any mention of Silk Road online before that Gawker article made it famous. And he finds one, a forum post from a user named Altoid. Then he finds that same user, Altoid, made another post asking for IT help. And there it was, the Gmail address. But the real breakthrough was something tiny. He saw that the user Altoid had changed his name on the forum to something else, to Frosty. Now that sounds random, right? But it wasn't. Because what he didn't know, but the FBI did, was that they'd already found the Silk Road's main server. And you know what they had nicknamed that server? Frosty. All the pieces just clicked into place. Altoid was the user, Frosty was the server, and the email, that was Ross Ulbricht. Just like that, the ghost had a name. Which brings us right back to where we started, back to that library. See, just knowing his name wasn't enough. They had to catch him in the act, catch the king sitting on his throne. The plan was simple, but it had to be flawless. They needed to get him to log into the Silk Road's admin panel, while they were standing right behind him.
So, an undercover agent, pretending to be a site moderator, sends him a chat message. Just a simple request. Can you check out on one of the flagged messages for me? It was the bait. See, to do that, he'd have to log into the main control panel. And his reply came back, "Sure, let me log in." 4 words. That was it. He had just checkmated himself. And the agents got the signal. It was time.
The trial was a whole other story. His lawyers tried to argue that, yeah, he created the site, but then he handed it off to someone else, that he wasn't Dread Pirate Roberts anymore. But, the jury wasn't buying it. Guilty on all 7 counts. And then came the sentencing. The judge didn't care about his libertarian ideals or his fancy degrees. She just looked at the damage. She told him, quote, "You were captain of the ship. You are no better a person than any other drug dealer." And then she dropped the hammer. In the federal system, there is no parole. He got 2 life sentences, plus another 40 years. It was even more than the prosecution had asked for. The man who built a world with absolutely no rules would now spend the rest of his days in a world that was nothing but rules. On that laptop they grabbed from him in the library, they found his journal. And in it, he wrote about his vision, his legacy. He wrote, "I imagine that someday I may have a story written about my life, and it would be good to have a detailed account of it." Well, he got a story. It just wasn't the one he thought he was writing.